And we return to Phantasy Star 2 once again to finally finish it off. Last time we stopped the creation of more biomonsters and reactivated Motavia's climate control, but Nay died. We stopped the planet from flooding, but the Mother Brain destroyed the planet Palmer. We were tipped off by a space pirate about someone on the planet Deseris being able to help us deal with the Mother Brain, so I'm heading straight there. I use the planet's only remaining spaceship on the roof of Paseo Central Tower to fly to Deseris. We land in the Skure spaceport. If you remember the first game, Skure was one of only 2 towns on Deseris, populated by Palman migrants. However, since the first game, the Palmans began mining the area for its Laconian ore. It became the planet's spaceport until a gas leak killed several workers and mutated many animals, leaving the area abandoned. From the spaceship, I go north and west down a chute. I go west and north for my first chest, and then south down another chute. I go north to 6 chests, only 3 of which have items, then east and south to a 5th. I then go back to the 2nd floor the way I came. I go north and west all the way to the end and take the chute back to the 3rd floor. I go all the way north and east to a chute back to the 2nd floor. I then go west to an exit to the world map, taking a detour south for the 7th chest. There's still some chests I haven't opened yet, but I'll be taking multiple trips through this place, so I'll get them on my revisits. First new enemy I face here is a Dezo Owl. My second fight with them gets Anna to level 20. The first chest has a magic cap. Equipping this will let me talk to the animals in this place. Only Rolf can equip it and it's the weakest piece of headgear in the game. The 3 chests in the group of 6 on the 3rd floor have a magic cap, which allows me to speak with the native Dezorians, a second magic cap, and 5600 Meseta. I get another new enemy, the Rabbiter. These are cool as hell. They're constantly having to pull their intestines back inside the bodies, and they attack you with them. The 5th chest is the Laconian chest, which gives Rolf a 20-point defense boost over the crystal chest. I also fight a Dezoil variant, the Sky Tiara. I get a new machine enemy, the Gunbust. Since Deseris has both biomonsters and machines, I'm not bringing party members that specialise in just one, which is why my party is who it is. The next chest has 7800 Meseta. I face 2 new enemies here, Rabbit and Oranga. My next fight gets me a variant of the Oranga, the Orangu. The 7th chest is 8600 Meseta. Out on the world map, we can see a part of the giant scar the Palman mining operations have made on Deseris' surface. I get moving northeast. Eventually I reach my first town on this planet, Aukba. You must make sure you're wearing the magic cap when talking to Dezorians. Wear a magic cap and they'll lie to you and charge you more at shops. Wear neither and you can't understand them at all, meaning you can't use the shops or the hospital. It seems the Dezorians are quite happy the Palmans are no longer destroying their planet. Someone mentions a person hiding on this planet who never ages, and another talks about a beautiful man on the other side of a crevice. Now that I visited here, it's added to my list at the teleport station. I use said station to teleport back to Skure. But you can't teleport from Skure to a town, so you always have to trek through this place if you want to get anywhere, or you'll leave the planet. I go north, take the first west, go south all the way, then east and down a chute. I go north and west to my first chest, and then north and down the first chute I see. I go south, east and north, back up to the 2nd floor. I go north to a fork, then east and north again to my second chest, then east and north again back to the surface. The first chest is 6400 Meseta. Amy reaches level 15 in my first fight after this. She learns Sashu, which raises the entire party's defense, and Nares, which fully heals a party member. The second chest is a pair of Garda boots that I equip to Rolf. Back on the surface, I go northeast. On the way I get a van variant, the Aero Tank. My entire party, bar Anna, dies before I escape. While trying to survive to the next town, I get my next Oranga variant, the Ox. Eventually, to the far northeast, I reach the town Zosa, so I can finally revive everyone. It turns out the gas leak didn't matter to the Dezorians, as they are unaffected by it. Now that Zosa is on my teleport list, I walk back to Skure. From the exit I last left through, I return to the chest I found the Garda boots, and go south, west and north back to the 3rd floor. I go south, grabbing another chest in here on the way. There's still some more, but we won't be getting those for a long time. All the way south and all the way west back to the 2nd floor. I then go south, back to the surface. The last chest is 15,000 Meseta, then it's back outside again. I head south and then east, meeting my first tracer base on the way. It's a very long trek east, but I finally reach the last town on this planet, Ryuon. It seems Twin Town from the first game is long gone. One guy here says he saw 2 spaceships crash into each other 10 years earlier. Now I have access to all 3 towns and their shops, I can decide on what I want to buy everyone. I've built up a lot of money, so I buy Rudolph a Lacorinish for 35,000 Meseta. It's the strongest armour he can wear. I also buy him his own Garda boots for 12,400. It's the strongest piece of footwear in the game for men. I buy Amy a Laconian ML for 12,000, her strongest shield. From the weapon shop I buy Rolf a Laconian sword for 22,000. I then teleport to Zosa for its shops. I buy Anna 2 AC slashers for 24,000 each, wiping out my funds, so I get to farming money outside of Ruon. My first fight gets Rolf to level 21 and Rudolph to level 20. The next fight is a new enemy, the Large Miner. A couple fights later, Amy reaches level 16. 8 minutes later, Anna reaches level 21. 2 minutes after this, I had the money to buy Amy her strongest footwear, the Hersa boots. Another 2 minutes later, Amy reaches level 17. 5 minutes later, Rolf reaches level 22 and Rudolph reaches level 21 from the same fight. I teleport to Zosa and buy Anna her strongest footwear, the Shoon boots. About 10 minutes after that, Amy reaches level 18. A couple more minutes later, Anna reaches level 22. 5 minutes after that, I have the 28,000 Meseta to buy Rudolph a Lacona gear. 7 minutes later, Rudolph reaches level 22. 3 fights later, Rolf reaches level 23. At this point, I decide to advance the plot a bit and get looking for the guy Tyler told me about. I teleport to Akbar and leave town. I head west and south between 2 mountains to reach this massive crevice with stairs leading into it. In here, I go west to the pit, don't fall in the pit. I go north around it to a set of stairs going down. I go southwest, all the way west, then southeast, southeast, north and east to more stairs going down. There's only one way to go in this section, west and northeast to the stairs going up. Then it's south to some more stairs leading back up to the first floor. I go north, west and south to the stairs taking me back to the surface. Every other route I didn't cover is a dead end. I get an actual returning enemy from the first game, Mastodon. Elephants were strong enemy types in the later Deseris dungeons in the first game. My next fight after this gets Amy to level 19. I also get a new Deso Owl variant, the Owl Talon. That's all before I reach the exit, putting me on the other side of the crevice. Going west a little takes me to a mansion. This is the Esper Mansion. The term Esper was used in the first game, only applied to one person. People at the entrance say they've been waiting for Rolf. A man said he would awaken when Rolf arrives. He's been waking up every 10 years. When the Mother Brain first appeared, he hid himself away on Deseris. These people have been watching over him for generations. I go past the throne here and down the stairs. I talk to the woman on the left to have her wake up the man from his cryosleep. It's a familiar face, Noah from the first game, only now the game is using his Japanese name, Lutz. Lutz already knows Rolf. Remember the spaceship crash 10 years ago that shut down all space travel in the system? The one with Rolf's name on the boarding list? Lutz was the one who saved Rolf from the crash when he was 10 years old. He says he was awoken by Alice's scream, meaning Rolf is Alice Landale's last descendant. He recaps the end of the first game, only now the Dark Force is being localised as Dark Force. He tells Rolf he needs to arm himself for battle and gives us the Aero Prism. This is the item that reveals hidden things and what we used to reveal Lassic Sky Castle at the top of Baia Malay in the first game. These will reveal the dungeons that allow me to find the 8 pieces of Ney equipment, the strongest equipment in the game. Once I get them, he'll tell us about the enemy's plans. I grab the Aero Prism from the chest, which will now make the dungeons appear on the world map. I really like this part. Lutz makes perfect sense out of the original party to be the one hidden away to help out the current party. Imagine all the build up and it was Odin, the guy who was stupid enough to give his only means of curing petrification to someone without the hands to use it on him. It wouldn't feel as special. Lutz bridges the first and second games better than any returning planets or Rolf's dream. His presence properly cements that the first game's world, where magic still existed, and this one, where it doesn't exist anymore and everything is just techniques, where the few returning locations are unrecognisable, are one and the same. Rather than walk through the crevice again, I just cast Hinas to teleport back to Ruon and sell off some old equipment. I walk back to Akbar and get heading west to the newly revealed dungeon. It's not very far before I reach Menno Bay. On this first floor I go all the way north through this doorway and take the stairs to the left to floor 2. I go south through another doorway, then I hug the eastern wall going all the way south, then northwest to the first chest of this place. I then go back to floor 1 the way I came. I then go east to take the right set of stairs back to floor 2. Like the first time I was on this floor, I hug a wall all the way south to a corner, then I go east until I find the first doorway in here and take the stairs in there going up to floor 3. I grab the second chest to the west and go back to floor 2 the way I came. I leave the doorway and go all the way to the northeast corner, then south into another room. I keep going south, walking around these statues, and then west and north to some stairs leading back down to floor 1. Here I can grab my first chest and go back the way I came. I finally take the middle set of stairs at the north end of the first floor to the second. I go north and then west to the corner. I go south and into the second doorway I reach. Inside I then go north to some stairs back to floor 3. I go east and north all the way around the edge of the floor, then south until I reach an opening that lets me go north and up to floor 4. I take the eastern path south to the outside of this maze and take it west, north, west, south, west and south again to some stairs back to floor 3. This lets me grab the fourth and final chest here, letting me leave and go for the next dungeon. I get a mammoth variant, the Elatusk, on the first floor. My next fight is against an entirely new type, the Dark Side, and the next fight has 2 new enemies, both new types, Wrestler and Mistcape. Killing them gets Anna to level 23. The first chest is a Storm Gear. My next fight gets me a stronger Wrestler, Versakov. The second chest is a Colour Scarf. Rolf dies on my third visit to floor 2, but I keep going for a bit. Rudolph reaches level 23 and Amy reaches level 20 from the same fight. The third chest contains the Near Crown, the strongest piece of headgear for women. It goes on Amy since she has lower defense than Anna. I then leave to heal. My first fight on my next visit to floor 3 has me face a new Mistcape variant, the Illusionist, and a new enemy type, the Glow Sword. The fight after adds another Mistcape variant, the Imagiong, along with the MX Dragon, whatever the MX stands for. My next fight against them gets Anna and Rudolph killed. Rolf reaches level 24 from surviving that fight and learns Nazan, a Zan upgrade that damages all enemies, so it's back out to heal again. Since I had so much trouble with those enemies, I decided to hang around the entrance and grind for a bit. Amy reaches level 21 and Anna reaches level 24 in the same fight. 5 minutes later, Rudolph reaches level 24. Just a minute later, Rolf reaches level 25. Now everyone's gained a level, I give it another go. While retracing my steps, Amy reaches level 22. But then Rolf gets killed and while trying to walk out, the party refuses to escape and also gets killed. Good thing I saved before trying again. This is something I hate in older RPGs, an escape command that only works about 10% of the time. So it's back to grinding, where Amy reaches level 22 once again. A few minutes later, Anna reaches level 25. 5 minutes later, Rudolph reaches level 25. 2 minutes later, Rolf reaches level 26. The next fight has Amy reach level 23. Time to try again. Then Rolf dies again fighting some Dark Sides, but at this point I can at least get out. It gets close though, trying to deal with the game's escape rate leaves Amy the only survivor. That's the thing, enemies in Deseris's dungeons either have some insane critical hit rate or the damage range on their attacks is really wide. Back on floor 3 I get a Dark Side variant, Mr. Death, but at least it's not free, stopping Rolf from going from full hell to dead in one turn. On floor 4 I fight my next Wrestler variant, the Meso Man. Anna reaches level 26 from killing them. I also get my next Dark Side variant, the Shadow. Although I don't realise it's new and fast forward through it. That mistake ends up biting me, as everyone dies but Anna, who survives with only 2 HP. At this point there's only one thing to do, abuse the Visiphone and save every few steps, so when I inevitably get killed, I don't lose much. I only die once before I manage to brute force my way to the final chest for the Near Helmet, the strongest headgear for Rolf and Kane. It will go to Rolf when he's revived. Of course, I still have to brute force my way out of here, which takes a further 10 minutes, with fast forward. All of Minobe was an hour and a half I just compressed for you. That was by far my least favourite section of the entire game. At no point during that dungeon was I having fun. Since this was so hellish, I decided to hang around the entrance of Minobe to grind. It's the best place right now since Minobe is the closest dungeon to a town. 3 minutes of it gets Amy to level 24. She learns Sana, which increases every party member's agility, and Reva, which revives a dead party member. I could have done with that while going through this dungeon. A minute later, Rudolph reaches level 26. 3 minutes later, Rolf reaches level 27. 2 minutes later, Anna reaches level 27. 6 minutes later, Amy reaches level 25. 4 minutes after that, Rudolph reaches level 27. 3 minutes later, Rolf reaches level 28 and learns Gigra, a stronger version of Gra that targets all enemies. Another 2 minutes later, Anna reaches level 28. 5 minutes later, Amy reaches level 26. 4 minutes after that, Rudolph reaches level 28. 2 minutes after that, Rolf reaches level 29. 5 minutes later, Anna reaches level 29. 4 minutes later, Amy reaches level 27 and learns Gisar, the second tier of full party healing. I warp to Ryuon to get moving to the next dungeon. It's quite a distance northeast from Ryuon. On the way I get a new rabbit variant, the Rabbit Gut, also the Spectre, a Tracer variant. But after a long trek I finally reach Garon. Now that's another familiar name. In the first game, the Garon Morgue was a dungeon on Deseris where I found the Laconian armour. This place has 16 floors, but many of them are small and identical. This first floor is massive. I start by going all the way west into the room in the southwest corner for my first chest, then back to the entrance and north through the doorway. I take the first east of the wall, then north, west and south into a room containing my second chest. I backtrack to the building's entrance and go north, north and west outside into this tree maze. I go through the middle first and then south into a different path that leads northwest a little, then southwest into the second room from this maze to some stairs going up to floor 2. I leave this central room to the east, then north, east some more, south and east to a room with my third chest. I then go back to where I started and take the stairs to the north up to floor 3. I go south and take the stairs to floor 4. I go north and take the stairs to floor 5. I go south and take the stairs to floor 6. I go north and take the stairs to floor 7. I go south and take the stairs to floor 8. I go west all the way, south all the way, east and north, taking the western side up to my 4th chest. Then I backtrack and take the stairs north of where I entered to floor 9. I go southeast into another room and make my way to the eastern wall, navigating the statues. Once at the end, I go north and west into another room to find my 5th chest. I then go back to where I entered from and take the stairs to the south up to floor 10. I then go north to floor 11. I go south to floor 12. I go north to floor 13. I go south to floor 14. I go north to floor 15. I then go south to floor 16. Here I just go north around the statues to the 6th and final chest, after which I'm done here. The first chest is a Laconin-ish, the second is an amber robe. As I get close to the tree maze, Rudolph reaches level 29. The third chest contains a crystal chest. A couple fights after this, Rolf reaches level 30 and learns Rever, so now I have at least 2 people who can revive. On floor 8 I get a new enemy type, the Firefall. That's not even a monster, I'm just physically attacking fire now. The 4th chest is the Nair Cape, the best cape in the game. I let Anna have it. On floor 9, Anna reaches level 30. The 5th chest is a crystal cape, right after getting the much better Nair Cape. The final chest in here is the Nair Armour, the best armour to give to Rudolph. That's half of the Nair items collected so far. That was nice and simple, much more bearable than Menobe. I leave and walk to Zosa to walk to the next dungeon. From the Skure exit that leads to Zosa, I go north, take the first west and go north again to reach Ikuto. As punishment for Garon being so much simpler, this dungeon goes back to being a prick. This one is based entirely around dropping down pits. I probably should hate this one more than Menobe, but I didn't get as pissed off here. I drop down the middle pit to the basement, then down the middle pit again to the second basement. I grab the chest I dropped near and take the pit just north of it to the third basement. I go west, south and west all the way to my second chest, then I cast Hinas to leave and start again. Back on the first floor I take the western pit to the basement. I go south and take the pit against the wall to the second basement. I go all the way west and then north into a pit into the third basement. Then it's the pit southwest of where I drop to the 4th basement. I navigate around the statues going south until I reach my 3rd chest. Then I Hinas out and start again. On the first floor I take the eastern pit to the basement. I walk south a little to take the pit below me to the second basement. Of the 3 pits here I take the western one to the third basement. I then go west down to the 4th basement. I go south and follow the winding path east and north to my 4th chest. Hinas and start again. 4th journey through, I take the middle pit in the first floor and then the western pit in the basement. I take 2 steps west down to the 3rd basement. I go east, north and west past the pit and taking the second one to the 4th basement. From where I land, I go directly north to a pit to the 5th basement. Down here I grab my 5th chest and Hinas out. Last time going through here, I take the western pit on the first floor again, then through the pit directly south of where I landed. 3 pits to choose from and I take the western one down to the 3rd basement. I go all the way west and then north down a pit to the 4th basement. I go all the way north to the northwest corner, then all the way east to the northeast corner, then south to 3 pits. I take the middle one. I then go all the way south for the 6th and final chest. The first chest is a Laconian dagger. On the first visit to the 3rd basement I get my next dragon, the Fire Dragon. The second chest is a plasma cannon. On my first visit to the 4th basement, Amy reaches level 28. The 3rd chest is a Laconian mace. The 4th chest is a fire staff. The 5th chest is the Nair Shot, the best gun in the game, so it goes to Rudolph. During my final run through the 4th basement, Rudolph reaches level 30, but the party gets wiped because of the dickhead escape constantly failing. Next time I make it down to the 5th basement again. On here is a new glow sword variant, the Desrona. The final chest contains the Nair Slasher, Anna's best weapon. Just 1 more dungeon and 2 pieces of Nair equipment to find. But first, another grind at Menobe. It takes 3 minutes for Rolf to reach level 31. 5 minutes later, Amy reaches level 29 and Anna reaches level 31 in the same fight. 10 minutes later, Rudolph reaches level 31. 3 minutes after that, Rolf reaches level 32. 4 minutes later, Amy reaches level 30 and learns Nassar, which fully heals the entire party. A minute and a half later, Anna reaches level 32 and learns Zan, which is her final technique. 9 minutes later, Rudolph reaches level 32. 3 minutes later, Rolf reaches level 33. I decide that's enough and get going for the next dungeon. The problem is that it isn't near any towns. It's reached through a 4th exit from Skure to an area with no towns, meaning if I want to leave and heal, I also have to trek through Skure again. So from the spaceship at Skure, I take the first west, then south and take the second west to a chute going to the 2nd floor. I go south and take another chute down to the 3rd floor. I go north and west to a chute back up to the 2nd floor, going south halfway for my first chest. I go east and south to the final chest in Skure, then backtrack and go north back out to the surface. The first chest is 18,000 Meseta. The final chest in Skure is another 12,000 Meseta. Back on the surface, I just go south and east around the scar to reach Navel. From the southwest corner I start in, I go north until I can enter the building and take the stairs in the northwest corner to floor 2. I then follow the path around south and east to the stairs to floor 3. I then follow the path north and west to the stairs to floor 4, and once again I follow the path south and east to floor 5. This floor has a huge pit in the middle, and where I drop from determines where I land. So from the southern bridge, I walk off to the east and drop back down to floor 4. I drop off in the same direction to floor 3, and once again to floor 2. This drops me on the platform with my first chest. I drop down the pit again and work myself back up the way I came. Second time, I get onto the eastern bridge and walk off to the south. Then south into the pit again, then south once more to 3 more chests on floor 2 before I drop back down to the first floor. This time I take the stairs in the southeast corner to the other side of floor 2. I follow the path north and west to floor 3, then it's south and east to floor 4, then north and west again to floor 5. I get on the northern bridge and drop off to the east, then drop off to the west, then drop off to the east to floor 2 where I can grab my 5th chest, drop back down to floor 1 and climb all the way back up for a 4th time. Back on floor 5 I get on the western bridge and drop off to the north, then to the north again, and once more back to floor 2 where I can grab the last 2 chests and be done with this place. On my first run through floor 3 I get another new dragon, the Archdragon. On the 4th floor I meet my first Cape one. The first chest is the strongest shield in the game, the Ney Emil. It can only be worn by Anna and Cher, and I'm not sacrificing one of Anna's weapons for it. On my way up the second time I get a new Cape 1 variant, the Wizard. My second visit to floor 5 gets Amy to level 31. Also another Cape 1 variant I fast forwarded through, not realising it was new, the Fiend. But then the party are killed by a team of Mr. Death and Archdragon while I'm trying to escape. I've died more from trying to escape than I have from actually fighting. This was the point where I was starting to feel fatigued with the game, and there was already a month between the gameplay for last episode and this one. Then when I get back up to floor 5, the same pair of enemies kill me again for the same reason. I was not happy. You'll probably catch me using fast forward more often now, I was so fed up. On my next attempt, Anna reaches level 33. My second through 4th chests are a Mirror ML, a Laconian ML, and green sleeves. My 5th chest gets me the Ney shield. Only Hugh and Kane can equip this. The last 2 chests in here are a Trimate and Truth sleeves. That's this place done, and that was tedious as hell, having to repeat the climb an extra 3 times, 5 when you count my game overs. Now I have all the Ney items, it's time to return to Lutz. Lutz recognises Rolf as truly a descendant of Alice and trusts him with his story. After the Dark Force was killed by Alice and her team, there was peace for a while. Then the Mother Brain just showed up and started providing the people of the Algol system with so many new things, they got confused and no longer knew what they needed and began to fight over the things the Mother Brain created, thinking they couldn't live without it. Lutz thinks that the Mother Brain itself is a trap, to deliberately weaken the people of the Algol system and lead to its destruction. He gives me the final Ney item, the Ney Sword, the strongest sword in the game for Rolf. Also, all the way through this scene the music froze on the first note of the track Power. It's apparently a common glitch and it sounds awful, but it's easily fixed. Talking to Lutz again will give me the option to be transferred to the final dungeon, the spaceship Noah, where the Mother Brain is kept. There's no exit to this place, so if I want to leave, I have to use the Ney Sword as an item and it will take me back to the Esper Mansion. This place's name is the most likely reason Lutz went back to his Japanese name. I get straight to grinding first. I get a new Firefall variant here, the King Lava. Killing it gets Rudolph to level 33. When you leave using the Ney Sword, saying no to Lutz when he asks if you want to go to Noah will have him fully heal you for free. You can't revive though, you'll have to do that yourself. After a few fights, Rolf reaches level 34. 4 minutes later, Amy reaches level 32. Another 5 minutes later, Anna reaches level 34. 8 minutes later, Rudolph reaches level 34. 6 minutes later, Rolf reaches level 35 and learns his most powerful spell, Megid. This technique drains half of all party members' HP and delivers it across all enemies, so when used on a single enemy, it deals a ton. 2 minutes later, Amy reaches level 33. 11 minutes later, Anna reaches level 35. 9 minutes later, Rudolph reaches level 35. 6 minutes after that, Rolf reaches level 36. A minute and a half later, Amy reaches level 34. At this point I decide to clear out the dungeon except for the final boss before I get to my final grind. I go east and north to some stairs to the second floor. I then go west and back to floor 1. I go west, north, east, north and west and back to floor 2. Then it's north back to floor 1, then west and south back up to floor 2. I go all the way north, then all the way east to the stairs back to floor 1. I go north a little and back up to floor 2. North, west and south back to floor 1, then north back to floor 2, then north back to floor 1. I go south, west and then north all the way, back up to floor 2. I go west and south all the way, back down to floor 1. I then go west and northeast to the final chest in the game. Absolutely nothing happens on the way to that chest. When I inspect it, Rolf feels an incredible power, the screen goes black, someone laughs and declares it's Pandora's box, a gift from another world to the Algol system. It's the Dark Force once again. The Dark Force has 2560 HP, having the highest HP of any enemy in the game. Add to that a massive 320 attack stat, almost 100 more than the final boss, and he's pretty strong. And he takes up the top of the screen so I can't even see the damage I'm doing to him. I set Rolf to use a single Megid for huge damage and then quickly heal everyone with one of the star mists I've been saving. After that I have him set to use Nathoi. Anna and Rudolph attack while Amy ends up not able to do much. His first attack on the entire party after that first Megid was close, as it reduced Anna to 11 HP and Amy to just 1. Dark Force can inflict the evil status on a party member, which removes them from your control. They'll even steal items from their inventory, which can be very worrying if they take something rare like a star mist. But there's a random chance of the Ney sword freeing any evil party members. Amy is turned evil and then later killed. I can't risk reviving her for her to die again, so I just take on the rest of Dark Force's health with just the other 3. And I managed to win on my first try. Well, that was weird and no one has anything to say about it. Before I move on and finish the game, I now have my final grind. This game caps at level 50, so as part of 100% I'm getting all 7 party members to that level. This is difficult because with a full party, at most I get around 4900 XP, and once you hit the level 40s, you need hundreds of thousands of XP per character per level. So there's a good chance going from level 40 to level 50 requires around 4 to 6 million XP, so you can imagine this takes a while. Even with fast forward, this took days. I will be doing a lot of skimming from now on. I didn't record all the grinding, as tens of hours of nothing happening would take up too much space on my computer. It took 2 days of fast forward grinding to get Rolf to level 50. Off screen he learns Nagra at level 40, the strongest all targeting technique aside from Megid. As you can see, it took 6,900,000 XP from level 1 to level 50. 2 hours later, Anna reaches level 50. She needed 7,500,000 XP total. I return to Paseo to swap her out for Kane. Swapping party members at this point is a nightmare, as every swap required a backtrack through the giant crevice, a trip through Skure, and another trip back to the mountain through the crevice. I set Kane up with Storm Gear, a Laconian Mace, a Laconinish, and Garda Boots to try and keep him alive longer while he's still level 17. An hour later, Rudolph reaches level 50. In the time it took him to gain 1 level, Kane gained 7. I return to Paseo and swap him out for Cher. Cher is even worse off than Kane when he rejoined, she's only at level 10. Taking her to Deseris, I outfit her with a wind scarf, laser knife, Ney ML, crystal cape and Shun boots, but she's still gonna die a lot early on. Half a day later, Amy reaches level 50. In the time it took her to gain a single level, Cher gained 21. Off screen she learned Grat at level 40 and Gigrat at level 48. I return to Paseo to swap her out for Hugh. No Ney equipment left over for Hugh, so he gets a Laconimet, Laconian Mace, ceramic chest and Garda boots. Grinding without Amy is a nightmare, as she takes the only anti now that Ney's dead and Nara's tech's in the game with her. This leaves Rolf as the main healer who can heal 60 HP at most with Girez. Poison is the biggest problem. I can leave one party member poisoned for a bit, as Lutz's heal will still restore their HP, but if too many get poisoned or Rolf does, it's a walk back to Akbar to cure them and another trek through a giant crevice. I could buy antidotes, but I don't have much inventory space and they'd run out pretty quick anyway. 3 days of brain-melting tedium later, Cher reaches level 51st, despite Kane having a 14 level head start on her. She learns Rez at level 12, Gifoy at level 15, Zan at level 18, Grat at level 24, Gizan at level 27, Girez at level 30, Nazan at level 33, Gigra at level 36, and Nagra at level 45. I return to Paseo and kick her out to bring Amy back so I have some better healing. I can leave her dead so that Hugh and Kane get more XP from the fights, and just have Rolf revive her when I need to use anti to heal poison. 4 hours later, Kane reaches level 50. At level 21 he learns Gisag, which is a stronger Sag. At level 26 he learns Brose, which instant kills a single machine. At level 28 he learns the strongest version of Sag, Nazag, and his final technique is Gizan at level 31. I return to Paseo to swap out Kane for Rudolph, so that enemies die faster. As soon as Kane and Cher are replaced with Rudolph and a dead Amy, things speed up far more and the 920,000 XP that Hugh needs just to go from level 49 to level 50 still takes a couple hours, but nowhere near as long as it took those two. At level 15 he learns Vol, which instant kills a single bio monster. He learns Zan at level 18, Savol at level 24, which damages a group of enemies, Grat at level 27, Girez at level 30, Gigra at level 33, and Gizan at level 36. With Hugh done, I can kick out his useless ass to bring Anna back in. I should say that while I have maxed out money in other RPGs I've done, They were never an intentional thing, which is why this is the first one where I will not be doing that. A week of my life grinding and maxing everyone's levels only got me a quarter of the way to the 9,999,999 Meseta cap. I just can't dedicate another 3 weeks just to grinding money. I return to the spot I defeated Dark Force and continue on to the end. From where the chest was, I head north and east back to floor 2. I then go west, south, west and north to trigger the final battle. As I cross this final bridge, the Mother Brain reveals herself. Rolf and the party are overwhelmed by her presence, giving me one more chance to back away. But I don't, making the Mother Brain grin. She says that if she is damaged, the entire system will be thrown into a panic, as the system is now dependent on her. She says that it will lead to them dying miserably, but that's not going to talk us out of it. My first battle with the Mother Brain ends in failure, as I accidentally let Rolf cast Megid twice, leaving the party without the health to survive and heal. So let's see my second successful attempt. The Mother Brain has 2450 HP, 228 attack and 128 defense. I set Rolf to Megid only once and follow up with Constant Nathoi. Amy heals whenever she can but otherwise attacks with a Snow Crown, while Rudolph and Anna throw out regular attacks. Unlike the final boss of the first game, you can't see how much damage you're doing. If I have just one complaint with this fight, it's that there's no dedicated final boss theme, it just uses a regular boss theme. Both Lassic and the Dark Force each got their own unique boss themes in the first game, but it's a minor thing I'm only bringing up to drag out the boss battle footage so it doesn't play at light speed. This time I'm never in any danger, and it's Rudolph who gets the last hit in, gunning the Mother Brain down. Rolf and the party are amazed at what they'd accomplished. The Algol system is free from the Mother Brain's control. The Biosystems Lab and Climatrol are now forever useless, freeing the people from her, but ensuring a difficult life lies ahead. Both the party are hopeful for the future and plan to return to Motavia, but Lutz warns Rolf that there is still somebody on this ship. They walk past where the Mother Brain used to stand and see a massive group of robed people. They walk through the crowd to the leader. He talks to Rolf as if he is above him and asks if Rolf thinks they are his enemies. They do hate him for destroying the Mother Brain that they created. They are not from the Algol system, but from Earth. They are the last surviving humans from Earth, which has since been destroyed. They were unable to suppress the evil within themselves and continue to abuse nature until the Earth released its death rattle. With their little remaining time, they built this spaceship and escaped, finding the Algol system. They installed the Mother Brain so they could take control of the planets for themselves by weakening their people and making them easier to invade. They are the ones who ordered Palmer's destruction. Lutz tries to help the party by sending over the remaining 3, but the Earthmen say it's only a matter of time before the Algol system is destroyed and hundreds of them swarm the party at once. And so the game ends on an image of each character fighting back and getting their own words in after letting that arsehole do all the talking. I gotta say, this is actually pretty cool. Aside from Palmer's destruction, the story didn't do much for me in the first 2 episodes, but in this one they really ramped it up with what little they could squeeze in. The last line of the game is, "I wonder what the people will see in their final days." So that was Phantasy Star 2. This is seen as one of the Mega Drive's biggest classics, and while I did like it to an extent, there was a lot of stuff dragging the game down for me. The slow speed, the amount of grinding, the spiteful dungeon design, and the first 2/3 of the game's story just didn't do it for me. I feel like this game had a lot of grand ideas for its story, and I can see traces of it, but I didn't have the space for a lot of it. Either that or a lot was lost in localization, which is possible. But as I said, from Palmer's destruction to the end I enjoyed the story, but that's also bogged down by some of the most tedious gameplay across the entire game. The best way I can describe this game is, a game I liked despite its best attempts to make me hate it. This will probably be around the lower middle of my ranking, I haven't settled on the exact placement yet. I know a lot of people love this game, but for me, I still think the first Phantasy Star in its simplicity was more enjoyable. One last note before I go to the ranking, I've changed around my checklist for this series. Every chapter of the Phantasy Star 2 text adventures was its own entry, I've now condensed them into one like they should have been. I've also added the PS2 remakes of the first 2 games. When it comes to the MMOs, Online, Universe and Online 2, I've only included the base games. MMOs are my biggest blind spot, so I don't know what counts as a separate game and what's an expansion. I know Online Episode 3 is its own game, but is Ambitions of the Illuminus its own game separate from Universe, or is it an expansion? I need a Phantasy Star expert to let me know that.